everyone. I'm glad you could join us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about different things, but in particular, want to get into tinnitus or tinnitus, however you pronounce it.
Usually pronounced in the medical field as tinnitus, but often pronounced by the public as tinnitus. So which one is it? It's commonly pronounced as tinnitus, and that's okay. So what you need to know is that both pronunciations are acceptable, but there's one that's technically appropriate, and that's tinnitus.
That's an issue with hearing in the ear, that you hear ringing, and it's a real problem. A lot of people have it. And even though, well, apparently it's one of the side effects of the V shot that people got in the last couple of years. And they noticed shortly after they got that shot that they ended up having ringing in their ears. So bad side effect anyways, amongst others. But anyways, it's really good that we've had a lot of people join us in the new year. And as far as subscribe, we do have a YouTube channel as well. So I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, SunPowerLED. And we got a lot of great videos there. Most of them are on our website, but there's some other unique ones there too. So check it out. Also, I want to remind folks that we have a giveaway, and that is for a Palm Ultimate. That's, that's this guy here. It's the regular price is $1,300. And we're giving it away to those that, to somebody who has watched our program on the Tuesday nights. Now, you actually have to watch the program on Tuesday night to have that. But every time you watch, so if you watch for the next, well, I guess two more Tuesdays in January, you have each time you're entered in as a ballot. So if you watch 4 times over a course of a month, you get 4 ballots going in. And then we do a random draw, and somebody will win that. So please tell your friends to join us, even though that means that might lessen your chances a little bit. But please tell others to come on in on Tuesday nights. So with that, I'd like to start with our short little video here. So here we go. PBM stands for Photobiomodulation. Photo being light, bio being biology, and light, well, light coming from some kind of source. In this case, PBM is used to help stimulate healing in the body, whether it's an LED, whether it's a laser, whether it's the sun, but that light comes through the skin layers, and actually the cells are able to absorb that light, converting it to energy, and then there's a host of different processes that are stimulated because of that light. So you can speed up healing, you can do different things that is very beneficial for the cells themselves, for healing, for reduction of inflammation, and a host of other things. Kerber USA is a company that we have set up to promote healing for the US and around the world. We would like to see this technology help a lot of people. We use LED technology where we can provide high amounts of light into the body, and that stimulates healing. I'd like to introduce you to the SunPowerLED Palm Ultimate. This device here has the most power of the series of devices. This light can produce a huge amount of light that can enter into the body and help speed up that healing. In this device, we have 2 different wavelengths. It's 660 nanometer, and as you can see, it's very bright, but it's very effective. You will cause a systemic effect with this wavelength of light. The other wavelength is 810. It's not very visible, but it penetrates very deep, and that can help as well reach the target that you're trying to reach. The main part about this light is that we have the power behind it and the large surface area that can reach very deep into the body. We believe that our product is the most powerful LED cluster under the sun. We have a specification of this device of 150 milliwatts per square centimeter, and that is over this entire area of 40 square centimeters. It also provides a wall of light that comes through the skin and is able to reach depths that have never been able to be done before with other light products on the market. There's an interesting biblical passage in Malachi 4:2 that talks about the healing that comes from the rays of the sun. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide healing with these rays. PBM has also been shown in various studies to be able to help promote healing in wounds such as diabetic ulcers, venous ulcers, and other areas where cuts or burns or other types of wounds are on the skin level. If you have any questions about PBM and how our light device, the SunPowerLED Palm series, can help you, please reach out to us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay, so just a little background, talking about tinnitus. So the tinnitus is the ringing of the ears, in the ears, or it may be a noise or whatever. We've had some really neat successes with tinnitus, and right now, I can't say it. I wished it was everyone. I wished every person that used the light on their ear was able to be helped. But we had my tally right now still. I haven't had anybody for a while, but we had 9 people out of 12, so that's like 75% success rate of having their tinnitus reduce significantly or totally go away. So pretty major event for these people, because some of them it was extremely loud in their ears. So that would be like using the palm light, and you would use it on the bright red for like 1 minute, and then what we've used is 3 minutes of the near infrared. Now the near infrared you can see a little bit there. This is the 810 nanometer. We use the same protocol as for other parts of the brain, so it's possible to do kind of like the helmet treatment, where you do the whole head with just the helmet is like 1 minute and 3 minutes, and over the whole head. And it's possible to do the same type of thing like in 10 locations. Now that takes quite a bit of time. A person could reduce that more, but the ear, sinus issues, other brain issues, we pretty much do 1 minute and 3 minutes with the palm lights. And so I'll just show you something for those that are maybe newcomers on tonight, and I'll show you how the light can, just to give you an idea. So if we looked at this light right now, you can see it going right through my hand there, right in through here and that. Okay, I'm just blocking the light from our overhead light here that provides light for the studio. So anyways, with that light 660 nanometer, you see it actually penetrating right through. With 810, you wouldn't notice it at all. Okay, so if you can't see it, because you can't see it this way either. So, but I'll do a little demonstration. Now I checked, this is a specialized meter that, we did a low cost meter, and just got to turn this guy on. There it is. And hold on, I can't see. There we go. Okay. So, oops, it's a little hard for you to read. Okay, there we go. So if I do the 660 nanometer, okay, so right now you're getting a reading of 66. Okay. If we look at the, there's 680 on the near infrared. Okay. If we you can see this is the bright red now is only 60. So we're measuring 10 times more light through your hand with the 810 as the 660 nanometer. And this meter, I've double checked, like we've done some, it's not the normal light meter. We had to remove a little filter off the end because the little filter would block the near infrared, which then would mean we wouldn't measure anything. But when I did the calibration on this, it turns out that the numbers on the scale are fairly even, properly like matched or calibrated between 660 and 810. Very close. It's not very far off. So it's close enough for me to show you that, going from, sure, it might be off about 10%, but it's not that what we're talking about here is like a 10-fold increase. So we're gonna now get into the videos, and I'll let some testimonies that we have, and I hope you enjoy them.
I sat by Dr. Ryan Cole, and he was very, very excited about your product. And I was having tinnitus, and that was why he mentioned you. He had purchased the product and was recommending it. And I'm glad he did. It's been wonderful. I got to use it for a while, and it minimized the tinnitus that I had when I was, being a nurse, taking care of a lot of COVID patients. I'd been exposed repeatedly, so I had gotten some kind of weird shedding or buildup of spike protein or something that caused tinnitus, inflammation. I wasn't getting very much sleep. I think that was my biggest problem, but I had all the, everything I needed to protect myself or treat myself, but the only thing I didn't do is sleep enough. So I think that's what caused my tinnitus. But anyway, your product has been wonderful. I have not been able to hang on to it though, because working with the with our Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance group, I've had to loan it out. And as a matter of fact, it's up in Williamsburg right now. A 15-year-old girl is using it. She has what's called misophonia, and I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's sounds trigger her into a panic. So she's got some swings and emotions, and it's causing her a lot of problems. But her focus and anxiety and everything are so bad that she's having a hard time just sitting still long enough to use it long enough to find some effectiveness yet. But her mother's working on trying to get her to use it regularly like you recommend. But the another person or several people that have used it are people that have tumors, lipomas, skin, kind of surface type tumors. The personal trainer at our gym borrowed it for a while, and he shrunk his tumors. He noticed it shrunk pretty much immediately. He said within a week the pain was gone and it was already shrinking. And the next time I checked on him, like another week or two later, he said it was completely gone. So that was amazing. And then after this young girl uses my unit in Williamsburg, Dr. Fury personally wants to use it for her. I think she has tinnitus as well. And we have several other people waiting in line to use it. So unfortunately, we can't afford to buy 10 of them because that's what we would need. But
not into it. So John asks, how do you treat tinnitus? Where do you place the palm and what wavelength? So what we've been finding effective so far, and my numbers are growing, but I think I'm up now 10 out of 13. So 3 people have not been helped, but 10 people have. So, and there's others that are reported back to me, but I don't have a close handle on it. So I'm just saying about those personally that have come forward to me. So we've been using the 1 minute of the red, the bright red, which is 660 nanometer, because it will have a high influence on the blood in the area, and blood absorbs the 660 very well, doesn't penetrate as deep. But once you're influencing the blood is going beyond the area that you're treating. So you have a systemic effect that's happening over the whole area, over that whole area where you're treating. And that's ideal, even when it comes to stuff on the brain. If you can help the blood flow in that area, you're going to do great. The 810 or the 1050, the other wavelength, so 1 minute of the bright red and 3 minutes of the dim, or I say dim is deeper or invisible is deeper. So you use 3 minutes of that wavelength, and we've seen success. Now, I don't know what the upper end is as to how long people can treat, but I know one person that we have recorded on the video of our website, they ended up treating 20 minutes, and they decided to do that on their own, and there's significant reduction of tinnitus that hung around for a very long time. So we've been always.
And you told me about the ear. If you want to share about the tinnitus.
Yes, you can put it on the ear and it can help tinnitus.
We've seen the same thing. We've seen the same thing.
The tinnitus is going crazy after COVID. People are getting tinnitus pretty badly. And it is, if you do it early enough, it seems to stop that nerve degeneration.
And I've had right now, I have 9 people out of 12 who've seen significant improvement in their tinnitus. And that's pretty neat.
Does PBM have good results with tinnitus? And that's the ringing in the ear, or some people describe it, all different kinds can be like one individual mentioned to me it was like a waterfall in their ear, and they have actually had it for 30 years. The individual is 75, and 30 years earlier in the war, he was in one of the shells went off somewhere and caused this ring, in this case, waterfall in one of his ears. Interesting thing enough is he did put the helmet on. Now, a person could use the palm, any one of the 3 that I mentioned, to treat the inner ear with, let's say, a 3-minute treatment on the near infrared, whether it's 810 or 1050. But in this case, this individual, they put the helmet on, which treats the whole head at the same time, basically like 10 of the palm lights all the way around. And in 3 minutes, he saw, for the first time in 30 years, the noise level on that ear had almost totally disappeared, and he could hear through that ear. Now, it came back after 24 hours, but he would need to continue to treat that. And I don't know, maybe he'd be an individual that would need to treat the rest of his life for that. But how much better to be able to hear if that's what it takes to do a treatment in 3 minutes of time, 2 times a day or 3 times a day in the beginning. That doesn't sound like too bad of a deal. So there's now newer stuff coming out, and there's a couple studies that are going to happen that I'm aware of, where they're going to look at tinnitus as a full-out study. But I can tell you my odds right now that I've had are, out of 10 people, and this is literally 10 people, I've had 8 people so far notice a significant difference in their tinnitus since they used the light on their ear.
So he tests people's hearing and fits them for hearing aids all day long. And he woke up this morning, it was his day off, and he had planned to come over to use the device on his foot because his feet were hurting. And so he said, "Mom, I need to do my ear." And I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Are you coming down with something?" And he said, "It was really weird." He says, "I've been having ringing in my ear today." So much so that he was going to go into work to see if there was something wrong because it was a sudden onset. And he used the device that I have for 3.5 minutes on the red, and then he used it for 90 seconds on the higher level. And when he got up, he said, "I don't have the ringing anymore, Mom."
Isn't that fantastic? And he's going to be one that we're eventually going to get to document his in other cases, because the more that can be found out why it is that we are now seeing, I was saying 8 out of 10, now I have to say 8 out of 10, 9 out of 11 now have responded very well with just seeing even one treatment. Something, let's say it's an ongoing issue with the ringing, would be something that somebody would maybe have to use for the rest of their life. But hey, how much better is it that than having something
so loud. It goes back to one of the events I was at. A gentleman put the helmet on himself, and 3 minutes later, he was pointing to his ear like this, and he said, "I can't believe it." The ringing, in his case, he said it was like Niagara Falls in his ear. For past 30 years, had stopped after that 3-minute session. And now he's working on the ability to buy one of the units so that he would be able to use it on an ongoing basis. But he said it gave him a full 24 hours significant improvement in that 1 year, and then start coming back. But he also noticed that other things, that he was much more alert. He said he had quite the drive to go back from that evening. I think it was about a 2-hour drive. And he said, usually that'd be really, really hard for me. And he said, now he ended up using the helmet. So that was in the evening. So he said, I was so wide awake. It was pretty neat.
Wouldn't you say that's rather wild? Just use light, and light's going to make some kind of difference. And it does. It was about 16, 17 years now ago, that if you would have told me that, I would have told you you're smoking something. But I wouldn't have believed it. And it wasn't until I built the one light for the one doctor to photoactivate a drug. It's pretty neat how that works, and was called photodynamic therapy. And I developed this very special, powerful light, and extremely powerful light. Okay. And I decided I had to do some tweaking to the unit. I got it back about 2 months. I picked it up and got it back about 2 months later, and just to do a little bit and then return it to him in a day or two. And just then I had bent over and did something. I can't remember, picked up a paperclip. I don't remember what it was, but all of a sudden I had that old reoccurring injury that would happen to me every year or 2 years. That injury was caused by being up on a ladder on the second floor height, and was a storm window that I had put in my old house, and I pushed the window in, and my ladder took off, and I fell onto concrete. Didn't break anything, but I had severe pain for a while from that one. And then every year, 2 years, I would do something again, and that would re-injure that area. And it'd be the muscle spasms would go on for 4 or 5 months. It was very, very painful. And so roll that ahead to, about 16 years ago. So I had this issue for about 15, 16 years, something like that. And I'm working, I can barely think, the pain is so bad, and probably about an 8 out of 10, like that searing pain where it's screaming at you. And I thought, I wonder if that light could do anything. Now this was red, with the red color, but it was 635 nanometer, which by no means penetrates as deep as the 660. It's amazing. Just going a little shorter wavelength to red 635 decreases the amount of energy that can get through, or deeper, quite significantly. So anyways, it was 635 nanometer, but I had a powerful light. That's the difference. Okay. Even though the wavelength was shorter, it can penetrate yet with enough power. So I thought, what the heck? Why don't I give this a try? So I put this really powerful light on my back, a little ways away from it. And I did my computer work for like, I don't know, 20 minutes or just around that time. And I'm like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that feels better. I don't know what's going on, but, and then I thought, well, I'll get up and try and move around a little bit. And I did, and I could not believe it. My pain
went from like an 8 to like a 3 in 20 minutes. And here I've done, I think chiropractic is very good treatment, and there's other treatments as well, physiotherapy and massage therapy. And I was doing different things, but never over all those years, I had such a quick change in my pain level. And so from that, that's what happened about 16 years ago. So I went from a PBM unbeliever to a PBM believer in 20 minutes. It was just, and then what we saw then is how I built for my first lights, which is called Genesis, and it was based on using a halogen bulb and shining it in through water, a layer of water, and that would filter all the far infrared away and leave the near infrared, which can penetrate. And I used that light technology to start treating myself and others. And for myself, that 4 or 5, 3, 4, 5 months of pain now would reduce down to weeks, and then, and even less. And so it's really amazing what the light was able to do there. But what happened is right in the very beginning, I started seeing how people with problems with their hands, like the healing, one guy was a police officer, and this guy was resisting arrest, and he was having a really difficult time. And he ended up using his fist to try and stop him from what he was going to do. And he broke the bones in his hand, and his hand really swelled up. And I saw him in church, and it was all wrapped up. And I said, what happened? He told me. And I says, look, I think the light therapy can really help improve that situation. Now, they could not do any surgery because the inflammation was so great. So they said, your bones are all like they're broken in there, and you have to, we'll have to do some surgery to line up those bones. And I told him, use the light every day, multiple times. He did. And that light. And what happened is he went back to see the surgeon in 2 weeks. They did another set of x-rays, and they said they couldn't explain it. They said all the bones lined up and that everything was healing nicely, and he didn't need any surgery. So I got to admit too, there was prayer involved as well. Okay. Anyways, his hand nicely healed. As a matter of fact, he was able to return to the police force in record time. They figured that he'd be out for a long time. And that was his gun hand too. And so he had to have proper use of everything. And he did after that light therapy. But along the way too, I remember meeting somebody from the government, and he was limping. And I said, what's happened? And he says, well, I've got a graft that was he was involved in a plane accident, and he ended up having severe frostbite, and they had to cut off his toes and part of his foot a little bit. And anyways, he had a skin graft, and I guess for some reason the skin graft after a certain amount of time can fall apart, and so that they may have to come back. And now this is like 20 years after the fact, but they were going to look at amputating his foot. And I says, here, try the light therapy. And he was very, very, very skeptical, but he says, I'll try it. I'll try it. Well, after a month's time, that whole area that was trouble healed again. Okay. So it grew back, the area that was open. So it was open right down to the bone, and that all healed. And then we've seen diabetic foot ulcers, where the diabetic foot ulcer is nasty. I do have on some of my webinars, I've shown some slides, but this was really bad. And the woman was going to lose her foot in a week's time. They had scheduled the surgery. Well, one of these lights got purchased and got into the hospital room, and it was basically used undercover in the hospital, literally undercover, because they didn't want a lot of places have no idea what light therapy can do. So they, anyway, she just used it undercover and treated herself 20 minutes a day. And by the end of the week, they looked over the wound, as you know, it kept improving from a really nasty state, and they canceled the surgery. And after 2 months, that big area on the bottom, like it was totally engrossed, encamped, it was the whole area of the foot, like or the heel area. So it was the heel, the ankle, that whole area. And now it was totally healed all the way down to a size of a dollar bill, dollar coin. And within another 2 months, that was totally healed. So this woman who had the option of having her foot removed, well, maybe not an option, but she was going to have her foot removed, was able to leave being able to walk on her foot from the hospital. So amazing things have happened when it comes to diabetic foot ulcers. We've got this video, and it may say a little bit about it. I can't remember, but we'll play that video right now. What areas are you hoping to use, or you've heard about already, that people have used this light therapy for in the dental applications? I know I've covered some ground, but from your own perspective, and what are you hoping to do as far as treatment in your practice?
So I'm hoping to, as I'm now expanding into oral medicine within my own scope of practice, we'll be helping patients with various erosive and ulcerative conditions, things like lichen planus, again, oral mucositis, aptus ulcers. We can accelerate healing for a lot of those patients. Basically, anything that presents with non-malignant ulcers, there's a role for this. Within the TMJ realm, as we've talked about, whether it's muscle or joint pain, we'll be offering this to patients as well. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the hyposalivation patients too. So those are really my main three. And then in the oral surgery realm, certainly there's some good early evidence, as you've touched on, Tom, that wound healing and bone healing in particular can be accelerated with this. So we'll start using this routinely in a lot of our surgical sites.
So I'm a dentist, so this is a case where this person had this oral lesion, but not only did they have the lesion, it was very, very painful. And on the right there, you can see a nice close-up of it. So what we wound up doing first, okay, we remember, you want to control pain, you want to go over 8 joules per centimeter squared. So the first couple times to decrease his pain, we were doing an inhibitory dose. Then when he went ahead and said it was not pain and we wanted to make sure that we got healing, okay, we went to a stimulating dose. Also, when you're doing this, make sure you cover the entire area of the ulcer, of the sore. You can do this on burns. You can do this on cuts. It is incredible how well this works. One day, one of my assistants came in. She had dropped a hot iron, the clothing iron, on her forearm, and you could see the entire outline of it on her hand. And I said, Jen, go into the back, take out one of the lasers and put it on there. You would not believe how much quicker it healed. One day I was doing a ton of yard work, and I have a machine for going ahead and doing my edging, and it rained the day before, so it was getting stuck, and I always know you shut it off because the last thing I'm trying to do is lose a finger or a hand. But unfortunately, I went ahead and I leaned my forearm against the hot engine, and you could hear the sizzle. My skin was cooking, and I just came inside, I put the laser onto it, and it's incredible how much faster it heals and how much quicker the pain goes away. So remember, pain control over 8, healing and stimulation under 8. And so 9 days later, look how beautiful that tissue looks, complete healing. And you will get this all the time. All the time. It just works tremendously. For any of you that are out there that are dentists, you know, every once in a while, you'll catch your finger on a drill tip, and you know, especially if you had already just used it on a tooth, your finger will swell up. I guarantee you, the minute you do that, you stop, you put the laser onto there, you won't get any swelling at all. Another type of sore that's really common, especially we have winter coming in, what's this, in 2 days from now? So aphthous ulcers and herpetic lesions. And so we get these, they're raised, they look almost like blisters on your lips, but they are very, very sensitive. They burn, they itch, and you just want to go ahead and scratch them, but you know that you can't do that. So once again, PBM, and first, you'll notice where it says lymphatics 4 joules per centimeter squared. Whenever we are trying to reduce inflammation, very important to stimulate the lymphatic glands first. Now, 4 joules, the typical dose for it, and red light. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to do our lymphatics in the area. We're going to go ahead, we're going to use our PBM. And once again, we're going to make sure we get all of our borders, cover the whole part of it. I like to do it in cycles, so I'm going to do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and I'll do that 2 to 3 times. Sometimes if the patient really is like, doc, this is just killing me, I'm in so much, you know, pain here, I will do an inhibitory dose the first time. But most of the time, and I do have some patients, they get some of these, they're 1.5 inches, you know, long, that they need to come back. But what we are getting from this, because when you go ahead and you do this, you're not getting a tremendous difference in the way it looks. But what you are getting is a tremendous decrease in the itching and the symptoms that you get. So if you take a look here on the left, here's our pre-op, and it's nice and bubbly all along there. The immediate post-op, yeah, the bubbles have decreased, but they're still there. You can still see them. By the way, this is a non-contact procedure. So you want to be about 1 millimeter or 2 away from the tissue, as you do on many sores, because the last thing you want to do is put a laser tip on an irritation and rub it along there. You're just going to cause more irritation. So remember, non-contact, but you're very close, only 1 millimeter or 2 away. Once again, remember to cover the entire area.
Okay, so on that, one thing he mentioned, and I just want that as a clarification point, is dentists are very used to using lasers. So he talks about lasers a lot, okay, because lasers were the only light source that was available to them. And some of them, like himself, he has had lasers like for 30 years. So he's very knowledgeable about the use of lasers. LEDs can produce the same results. The only thing when it comes to inside the mouth, we've got the oral tip that can allow you to have the light so you can go inside the mouth and do the treatment. That just snaps into the palm unit like this. And now you can go and treat that area, having light from one of the LEDs focused up into the tube, the light tube, and directing it right on the area. So that's with that's Dr. Jerry. Anyways, they do a laser thing where they talk about lasers, a teaching event. Lots of them, as a matter of fact, over the years, teaching dentists around the world. Well, one thing he does mention is about 4 joules per square centimeter and all that. Some would like to get into this whole thing about joules. Unless you're a dentist, you really don't need to worry about that. The big thing about it is because in the dentist case, they're treating directly and on the tissue, or if they're treating near the gum line, they're like almost like there's very little depth that they need to go into.
So 4 joules, I mean, you can get 4 joules in about 30 seconds. But when we're dealing with the treatment of hands and, brain and other issues, we're treating much longer so we can go much deeper into the tissue. Please don't worry about the 4 joules per square centimeter unless, and even inside the mouth. And lasers are not forgiving, in that if you treat it too long with a laser, you can damage the tissue by actually burning it. LEDs, you don't have that problem. So even with my LED, the probe tip here, it's just picking up the light from the LED. And what's nice about that is it's got such an even illumination that you don't cause any localized burns like you could have with lasers. Just as an example, if I put this paper in front of this palm unit, you can see how even the light is. I'm just pulling it back right now. You can see how even the light is over that whole area, okay? That's because of the way I designed this. The LEDs have a wider range of deliverance of energy. So plus and minus 45 degrees. So one LED overlaps with the next, So that's why I can have such an even amount of energy. But not only that, because it's so even, I can have a very high amount of light, a high amount of light energy over this whole area. Okay. So when it comes to some of the other products, like even my LED, so I just show you the same thing with the LED panel. If I turn this on and I put the paper in front of it, okay. I'll just try and do it this way. Hopefully this works for you. But you can see it's very, very even, the light output over that whole area. And that's why we can have the amount of light energy delivered. So we have a very high energy density. So as opposed to having some of these panels that are, let's say that large, you'd have to take one of those panels and squeeze it down to like this, and you might be getting close to the energy that we're delivering. But the reason that I'm able to do that, I do have a patent pending on it, is because I have a very special way of cooling these devices, and that allows me to have a very high amount of energy coming from this, because LEDs themselves will produce heat if you have enough of them close together. And they also produce heat if they're distributed, but that's so easy to get rid of heat when it's distributed over a large area. But you concentrate that light down to this. Now you got to have some serious cooling, and that's what we've done. So that is the mini canopy that we have, and that is about a foot square. And we have the two wavelengths. So we have the 660 nanometer, and we also have the near infrared. So you might be able to see it if I tilt it like that and block some of the light. You can see the little bit of light coming out of it, little dots of light. But again, they're so even in illumination. It's very high amount. That is quite different compared to, again, some of the other panel devices that are out there. And if I turn it on and I just do this, you can see that's not very even illumination. As a matter of fact, if you measure it, that maybe come close to what we have if you put your sensor right over here. But look at all the missing area all the way around here. Not much energy is coming out of those, any of that area. And they also mix the wavelengths. So what happens is, instead of doing what we've done, which right off the bat is double the LEDs, we have a full set of LEDs with maximum power out of the 660 in here. And then we keep this separate on purpose, is we have the near infrared full amount of LEDs at the higher power level. And you couldn't put them both together at the same time. Otherwise it'd just get too hot on the skin. And what we want to do too is we want to have it so that we have one, like we can select, let's say if you're trying to treat your hands, you treat 1 minute of the red and 1 minute of the near infrared, because you don't have much tissue to go through when you're talking your fingers. As you get to your hand here, you get a little more tissue to penetrate through. So maybe a couple minutes of 2 minutes of red and 2 minutes of near infrared. Well, when you want to go for your shoulder, now what you want to do is you want to have a little bit of the red and a maximum amount of the near infrared. So about 3/4 of your time would be spent with the deep penetration. Dim is deeper. Just think of it that way. Now, when it comes to the first video that I put on, that was my first, or I shouldn't say the first unit. That was my first highest power LED cluster with the Palm Ultimate, being that we had pushed the power to as much as we could. Then we have developed the Super Palm, which has the 660 nanometer wavelength and the 1050. And the 1050, I can look at it and I can't see it. It's not there. But the camera picks it up. So it is there. I just can't see it. No, it's not picking up very well. But anyways, that's the 1050. And why would somebody want to get the Super Palm when it costs more? Is it just gives you a little bit of an extra edge. And there's also something to do with what's called structured water. So that's another benefit of going with the Super Palm. It can actually help create this special structured water that's apparently in the cells. I can't attest to this. I don't have the science, like understand deeply the science of how it exactly works. But it changes water to a different state, a unique state, and they're figuring this out. And some research is coming out about that. So the 1050 has that ability. I'll just show you another product here. We have this is our helmet, and this helmet here has we have it with a stand, our mini canopy and mini canopy, the canopy, which is the real large device, that's more for clinics. And it's 6 of the mini canopies. But this is our unit that has the 660 nanometer wavelength. And oops, there we go. We can just kind of show you there. And it has now it has the 810 nanometer, which you can barely see some spots there. But that is the wavelength that can penetrate deeper. So that's 1 minute of the red and 1 minute, 1 minute of bright red that we usually use as a treatment, and 3 minutes of the near infrared. Now we have some biohackers out there that are really pushing the limits, and some of them have gone much longer than what we say. Now we're not suggesting that you go there. This is our findings: is 1 minute, 3 minutes is really good, but there's no issue having a longer treatment time. We don't think, but I mean, more studies have to come out. We had a cool study that was done with using our helmet for opiate addiction and depression. Now that's on our PBM. If you go on a PBM and research, you can go down, and one thing you can find there is the PBM database. There's over 7,500 research articles there, and growing. And so on that same research page, if you go down, you'll see a place where it says PBM 2024. And if you click into that, you can see about the study. But we had the helmet being used for twice a week for only 3 minutes of the near infrared. And after 2 months, the people with opiate addiction and depression did much, much better than the control group that didn't have the light therapy. So we've been seeing all sorts of fantastic things with the helmet. So now we're going to play a short video on the use of light for SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So if you can throw that on, please.
Okay, and Jodine is asking, do you think the light has any effect on seasonal affective disorder? Well, we know one thing is that red light is in the evening is something that is desired. You want to try and block blue light. So there are filters you can put on your phone or on your computer so that you don't see, or if you do, it's very, very low intensity blue that gets through. Or you can wear glasses to do that. And I actually know somebody who runs their red light device, and they found that they can far easier fall asleep in the evening. But with SAD, one of the things that's really, really important, and I don't sell any equipment for that, but if one takes a very, very bright, cool white, that's one of those ones that looks very bluish, and you turn it on first thing in the morning for like 10 minutes, sit in front of it as soon as you get out of bed, that can help establish your circadian rhythm. So it's extremely important to get that first burst of very bright blue light. So it's as easy as putting a 100-watt light bulb a foot away from your face, or a foot and a half away from your face. You still can do what you're doing, maybe on the computer or whatever, but that exposure first thing in the morning sets your circadian rhythm, or the clock of the body. And as long as you stay away from blue in the evening hours, that'll be very helpful.
It was very interesting to see how much white light is so incredibly important first thing in the morning. As a matter of fact, it's the blue component of the white light that's extremely important first thing in the morning. And that helps set the circadian rhythm and melatonin production, and there's all sorts of things. But you can buy specialized light devices that you can just push, and we don't build any devices for, you can see the light come on right now, and if I do this, so it's a case of having that blue component. You might actually see a little bit of it kind of in this video because I have a more natural light in the background. There we go. That's it. But the easiest thing I can suggest as far as with SAD is just get a Philips. I recommend Philips. It's a better bulb, okay, to use. And buy one of those at Home Depot that you screw into the bulb, you know, like your normal bulb shape. One that has what they call cool white is the best, which has a higher blue component. So that's like 5,000, 6,000 kelvins. And that's a rating as to how bluish, I guess, the light is. And it is really important to get like a 10-minute dosage. So if you bought one of those 100-watt light bulbs from Philips, from Home Depot, and screwed it in, and gave yourself, like, put it on your desk and gave yourself a let's say a 10-minute, 15-minute dosage while you maybe read something or do whatever first thing in the morning, that helps set your circadian rhythm. As a matter of fact, I learned that one of the big problems that as first LED lights came out for cities is that, or not so much for cities, but they found that the light was too much. It looked really blue kind of thing. And what it was actually doing is keeping up animals like they would be awake longer because of this blue light coming from the street lights. So it's what cities are moving more to a warm, or a little bit maybe cool, a little bit more blue in it than warm light, but you know, they lower that down. Very important in the evening. to reduce your light. You can even get some of those yellow glasses, and yellow glasses, what it does is it blocks the blue component of the light, and you could use that in the evening if you're really want to get it on the computer. Some people, it doesn't bother them at all. I mean, they got a clock that just doesn't seem to go off very easy. But some of you, you have a real difficult time. And as a matter of fact, not only can that circadian rhythm mess with your body from the standpoint of just different things, but one big thing is depression. And I remember one friend of mine who had severe depression every winter. And he used to be an employee, and then it was a year or two later, he came over to see me, and he gave me the biggest hug. He says, I haven't had near the depression that I used to have, and I'm doing my light therapy every morning. So really, really important. So we're going to play a very short, we're running out of time here. I see there's a few questions. We got, you know what, I think it'll be a little repetition. So I told you about the seasonal affective disorder. I run out of time, but if you have any questions, for sure, send us an email at info@SunPowerLED. But I will answer a quick couple questions here. Okay, so Janet is asking, okay, length of light. There's two questions. There's a Glenn that's asked this, and also Janet. For LEDs, LEDs can be really quite short in life if they're heated up too much. And so if you bought a light bulb from the dollar store, chances are that LED light may last you a year, may not even. And part of the problem is the light is so is running so hot that the LEDs won't last. LEDs, if you treat them right, can give you like up to 50,000 hours, and even then, when you have it, you know, like 50,000 hours would be 2,000 hours a year times 25 years. So the LEDs that that's rated at like 80 degrees C, and many of these devices, cheap devices, will run their LEDs even much, much hotter than that. And although you don't feel the temperature on the outside because they don't do the proper cooling, that LED inside is just screaming hot and boiling hot. And so, but with what we do with our LEDs, we're running them like at 45 degrees C, which is around 120 Fahrenheit. That's really cool for LEDs. So, you know, even if we hit the 50,000 hour mark, they say that the output, if you're treating the LEDs right, and I'm treating them more than right by doing the way I'm doing it. So no issue with the length of time of the LEDs, but at the end of 50,000 hours, all that's supposed to happen. I haven't been around long enough to tell, but it's supposed to. They have done accelerated tests, so they know that this is that your light level decreases about 10%. Well, so you treat it in a 10-minute treatment. After 25 years, you might have to use another minute to get the same result. So, anyways, no problem with the light length of light on these the life of the LEDs on our product. Plus, we do have a 1-year warranty with our Ultimate, and we have a 2-year warranty with our Super Palm. And I like to keep my customers happy. So if you do have a problem 2 years down the road, let me know. We'll fix you up somehow. Okay. So there's and Dina, your question about the dentist talked about keeping the light source 1 to 2 millimeters away from the tissues of the mouth. I use the probe directly on the inside of the mouth. You know what? If you think it's going to irritate, he mentioned about the irritation. Some things can be very irritated. So if you you may end up irritating it a little bit if you put the probe right against it. But for many cases, you can put it right against the tissue because it's a LED source. Here's another question. Dina has a follow-up question, and you have to switch the probe from one hole to the other. Yes. Okay. So on our device, we have a special adapter plate that goes in, and what happens is the probe goes in there like that, okay, into one of the holes. When you're using this, one of the holes is 660 nanometer, one of them is 810 nanometer, so or 1050. So you plug it in the hole that you want the wavelength for, and if you want to, and then you just snap it in to line it up, and then when you do, you have the light coming out of the end. See, there's the light. So you can see it's coming out of that tip of the light. So you can get it right back, right in the area, back in the mouth. I won't open my mouth for you, but that's how you do it. And then just to use the other wavelength, you'd switch it to the 810. And once you line up one, it gives you the alignment for the other. And now you can put it in the other hole and you get the 660, 810. Okay, let's see. I think we've got there's one, let's just see. Okay, I've got some thank yous here. Sorry, there was one more. Oh, there we go. What is the LED watt equivalent on 100 watt incandescent? So you'd be looking at like a 10 watt. Usually what they do is they say on the device, you'll see that they say 10, excuse me. You'll see, usually they'll say equivalent to a 100 watt light bulb. So that's really it's 10 watts, roughly 10 watts, I'll say, of LED power, the electrical power drawing from the wall. Okay. And one final question here. My mother has been using the Super Palm on her eyes every other day for macular degeneration. My question is, she realized that she had cataract surgery about 15 years ago. So does this cause any challenges with the fake lenses? The light, will still go through the lenses. It's not a problem. It's not going to deteriorate the lenses or anything like that. And that's with your eyelids closed. Remember, if anybody wants to use it for their eye wellness, for different problems they have to close their eyelids, okay? Because that's going to diffuse the light. And the light energy from our device is about, let's say 100 to 150, 180 milliwatts per square centimeter. The sun gives out the full spectrum of a blue UV down to orange, red, green, yellow, orange, red, near infrared, far infrared, 100 milliwatts across that whole spectrum. We're just putting it all down in the red and near infrared of, let's say, 100 or more milliwatts of power. That is a very safe wavelength compared to the sun that way. But because we condense it all into this range, you have good penetration. So we generally, if you're trying to treat for eye wellness, you use 1 minute of the red and 1 minute of the near infrared. And so that is the extent of questions here. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and please tell your friends about our website. Tell them what this product can do for them. It can only help us more. As you help us, we can help others, and that would be a beautiful thing. So, and as a matter of fact, if there's someone on tonight that's thinking of buying a Palm, well, there could be a couple people, I don't know, but we have been able to catch up, which has been great. We had a fantastic towards the end of the year and the next year in January with Palm sales. And part of that has been because you've actually reached out to tell some of your friends. So I want to thank you for that. Plus, we've had an interview of over, there's a couple podcasters that are great that have done it. I really enjoyed them interviewing me. There's an Alex Fergus and a Ari Witten, and there's a couple others that Anthony De Clementi. Good podcasts there that have been recorded. Well, I've got now over 22,000 views of the videos, and I'm really happy. That's helped us a lot. So because of my success, if you call in tomorrow, and this is only tomorrow, we'll definitely give you, our Christmas special is over, but we'll definitely give you a code that you can enter for like 10% off. So do call us. And as a matter of fact, if you place the order tonight, I will, there's no problem, even though you don't know the code, we'll credit you back the 10% because I don't know it offhand. So anyways, all the best to everyone. I hope that you have a beautiful week, and that God richly blesses you. Thank you again for joining us. All the best. Bye for now.